Welcome back to another Zero Context Patreon. Stark advertising my Patreon content one out of context theater moment at a time. I finished up Given, the first of the Bitten and Bound series, and I spent most of the month reading Bad Boys Girl. Absolute slog of a read that was. I wrapped up the month by starting in on book 2 of Bitten and Bound, Stolen. I'd fought those forbidden desires to no avail. Ran as far from them as I could, but it was never far enough. Then Laurent had come along and showed me why. He knew things like that, just as he knew Jordan of Taw would welcome my advances. In another life, I might have pursued the earnest, oddly charming ex-brother. He offered something safer and easier than what I had with Laurent, which was complicated and often difficult. At times, I hated it. More often, I hated myself for needing it, but I was also addicted to it. No matter how much trouble it brought, I knew I'd never give it up. As much as I've been ragging on Varric, I'm also of the opinion that him and Laurent together are toxic as anything, and for once, I think that only half of that poison is Varric. Laurent himself isn't exactly a great person. Varric himself openly admits that his relationship was toxic, yet he won't leave him because they have history together. I can't marry without my brother's permission. I'd anticipated this argument. She was right, after all. No sister of mine would have went against my wishes, but I didn't have a sister. I had someone else's, and he'd been a fool to give her to me in the first place. You're in Nordor, I told her. Roland is all the way across the rift. He can't stop you from marrying me, but he can make your life miserable if you go home. Return to Sistria, and you'll always be a thrall. You're deluded if you think otherwise. Laurent has a point. If Roland didn't want Given to marry Laurent, he shouldn't have sent her over, telling her that her being a bloodbag was part of a peace agreement. The dress was the finest I own. Not that I truly own anything in Nordor. I wore what Laurent provided, and now I know what he wanted my situation to stay that way. North or south, a wife in Terra Azora didn't own property. Everything belonged to her husband. I get what she's saying here, that her situation wouldn't improve, only change, but holy guacamole unto his girl, your brother was starving you. You learned more about literally half of your heritage within a singular afternoon than you have in your entire life. This is an improvement, but the bar is on the freaking ground here. Do I, your grace? You told me that your mother was a priestess. You neglected to mention you're a priest who can force people to do whatever you want and then punish them when they don't. Varric set that in motion. I'll speak to him. Varric might have set the scene, but Laurent is in charge of him. At literally any point, Laurent could have put a stop to this. Instead, he allowed Varric to continue for Given to be violated against her will. What the fuck was that? I demanded the second I entered Varric's chamber. Again, at literally any point, Laurent could have stopped Varric from ordering the rape of Given. Instead, he sat back and participated in it. Laurent is not a good person. He's a fucking piece of shit. In Rowena's visit yesterday, Roland had sent her. My brother wanted me to get caught with the soul stone, but did he really? Crastor had done most of the talking last night. The few times Roland had spoken, he said in anguish, if there was any other way. I hadn't imagined the plea in his voice when he said that, and what of Rowena's voice in my head, her fear for her husband? Had I imagined that? I could have asked Varric about it, but that would have meant admitting she gave me the dagger. No matter which way I turned, more problems sprang up. Honestly, I would have told Varric not only about the vision, but also Rowena giving her the Soulstone dagger. Get ahead of it before she gets caught with it and makes the entire situation so much worse for herself. Like, she would have been in so much distress following coming back to her body. It also helps that Varric can literally tell when people are telling the truth or lying. As Varric and Laurent started to argue about all of this, then they're quick to start to make out the entire thing is so insanely toxic, I can't even stand it. The only silver lining in all of this is the fact that Varric is finally standing up against Laurent and his nonsense, and that Laurent acknowledges the fact that he and Varric together are toxic. Varric gets so angry that he bites Jordan and is surprised to find out that Jordan is something called a mage. The priest says that nobody else knows. They talk a bit about the things that lurk inside of the forest. Jordan goes on to say that he knows that the gods brought Given, Laurent, and Varric together for a reason, and it has something to do with prophecies and that stupid forest. The question was, what did this thing between the three of us look like? The idea of both men excited me, but it also twisted my stomach into knots of anxiety. The passionate kiss Varric and I shared was never far from my mind, but a kiss was one thing. Sharing a bed while my husband looked on was another. When I tried broaching the subject with Laurent, he quickly shut me down. I believe I told you to leave the journal to me, sweet wife. Yeah, no, you don't get to trap her into this relationship, force her to be in a throuple, and then brush the entire thing aside like her concerns and questions aren't valid. I worry about her, he said, his tone casual as if he discussed the weather. I debated explaining the bonding rate beforehand, but I decided against it. He looked at Varric. I didn't want her to feel anxious about being bedded in front of all those priests. For sure, it's a catch-22 situation. She was anxious and scared being shoved into the situation without warning, but I'm also not sure that explaining the situation would have made things better. I'm scrolling down his profile, which seems to be filled with photos of his girlfriend and different stages of selfie. Sickening, that's what this level of self-deception is. Nicole's level of obsession with herself is gross, said the girl who is currently stalking his Facebook account to see pictures of the guy she has a crush on. So, honey, I hear that Cole's back, my father says as we sit together for dinner. Oh, he isn't back yet. If he was, then I wouldn't be sitting here in one piece, I think, as I angrily stab a pea. He is? I didn't know, I reply, and my mother snorts in disbelief and chuckles. You two were always so adorable together. That boy could just never leave you alone, she reminisces fondly as I struggle to contemplate which part of the misery I had been put through looked adorable to my mother. Jesus fucking Christ. Boys abusing girls isn't flirting. It's conditioning women to accept abuse from men later in life. This isn't cute. This is literally deranged. Tessa is in legitimate fear for her life. Cole sitting beside me in the lunchroom, whereas Megan and Beth are sitting opposite both of us. I don't know who needs to hear this, but no is a complete sentence. Why is this guy so obsessed with Tessa? Does he literally have zero other friends? At what point should somebody bring up what a friendless loser that he is, that he has to hang around his former bully victim and her friends? Then there's me and the fact that I've been involuntarily started singing Call Me Maybe. What is she doing? Cole asks Beth, and I think he's looking a little scared. Oh, this is nothing to be worried about. Whenever she gets really nervous or scared, she starts singing crappy pop songs. Beth waves her hand over to me, nearly slapping me in the eye. Right. Cole stretches the word, but I can tell he's still not convinced that I'm completely sane. I said her chanting the chorus over and over again to stop my body from trembling. I clenched my seatbelt tightly, the silver class digging into my skin as I stare off into the distance. I fucking hate every single person who does this to Tessa. She's literally having a panic attack and is doing a grounding technique to try and calm herself down. But her friends dismiss it and act like she's a nuisance rather than to acknowledge the fact that their so-called friend is having a nervous breakdown. Even though I took a shower before going to bed last night, I still feel grimy and hence allow myself to be assaulted by the hot water as it rouses me out of my zombie-like state. Once I'm as shiny and new as a baby's bottom, I brush my teeth and pull on my robe. Afterward, I lock my door and walk towards my closet. Is it bad that I'm honestly kind of glad that the author seems to have completely dropped the entire I was sexually assaulted and Nicole let it happen thing, because I don't really think that the author has the maturity and grace to actually write about such a sensitive topic. Don't give me all that nonsense. Do you realize how worrying it is to come out of surgery and find that your son's been arrested for assault? She yells, but due to her gentle, almost caressing voice, it doesn't have the kind of impact she wants. Cole looks at her sheepishly. Sorry, Mom. I see her anger melt in the second he calls her that, and you can see she's practically already forgiven him. That's the thing I've always loved about Jay's mom. Ever since she married Cole's dad when both boys were sick, she treats Cole like her own flesh and blood. Yeah, that's the part I was worried about. If Cole's stepmom treated him like her own son. Now we're 3 pages in and still don't know what Cole did. You're going to the charity gala. Yes, you're participating in that demeaning competition. I cringe at her words, but nevertheless repeat what I previously said. Cole's your partner? I nod my head and she sighs. I knew I'd lose you to the establishment one day. Megan, I could imagine pulling this on me, but you, Tessa, I'm just disappointed. Oh, come on, there's no establishment. My mom's blackmailed me into entering the pageant, and I have to go to the gala. My dad's the mayor. Details. Yeah, no, you're a shitty fucking friend for missing the literal point. Everyone spelled out for you like you're too stupid to understand. And she still doesn't get it. Exactly what part of my mom is forcing me is difficult to understand. Tessa needs moral support, not judgmental, you're making the wrong choice, don't be the establishment. I smile at the dance team who once dedicated a whole routine to my ex's fat. LOL, teacher supervision? What's that? The sparkling tear resting on my dressing table is the constant reminder of what I achieved yesterday. If I wanted to, I could be like Nicole or one of the more popular girls. The tangible proof is a huge boost to my self-esteem. Finally, even though it might be a little shallow, I know I'm not loser fatty Tessa anymore. I'd also like to highlight the fact that Tessa only feels accomplished after she loses a lot of weight. Literally nothing that she did when she was fat seems to matter. What a terrible message. Think about all the times you've watched The Hills. What is it that Megan's always saying? WWLCD. What the heck would Lauren Conrad do? Ah yes, nothing quite like referencing a TV show that aired its final episode a good 4 years before this book was published. We walk in silence for the short 5-minute trip until we come to a halt outside his house where, extremely conveniently, Jay and Nicole are fighting. Ugly, screaming, pushing, and shoving kind of fighting. Shit, Cole curses next to me, and I mentally agree that this does not look pretty. Nicole is in one of her moods, the kind where she uses her hands to illustrate just how angry she is. Right now, she's hitting Jay on the chest repeatedly to get her point across. The poor guy seems clueless as to what to do but deflect her vicious attacks. I would say it's a bold move to pick a fight with the sheriff's stepson in the sheriff's driveway, but honestly, Sheriff Stone seems like the kind of guy who'd be like, haha, women, am I right? And brush the entire thing off, rather than to charge Nicole for literally assaulting somebody right in front of him. Nicole looks mad, her eyes frenzied, and I'm not completely sure if she's sober right now. If Sheriff Stone is going to ignore the assault, there's no way that he can ignore the underage drinking. Or is he going to be like, haha, teenagers, am I right? About that too? Cole, I say into the darkness. He whispers against my neck, and the movement of his lips against my skin causes butterflies to erupt in my stomach. You won't leave me, will you? Ah, yes, the relationship between a bully and his victim that went from that to making out on her bed in under a month. I see this lasting until they're both 90, so not one goddamn person. Ever. Lan's dad owns the apartment, but he's always on business trips, so this is more like Lan's bachelor pad, he says as we walk down the polished floors of the lobby, the door of which was opened by a very prim and proper doorman. If I had a nickel for every time this excuse for lack of parental supervision was used in this book, I'd have 2 nickels. Pick another fucking excuse! This is also further evidence that the author should have put them into college. Is a 21-year-old living alone? That's fucking normal and understandable. Is his father rich, so he bought his son a fancy apartment? Also fair, I'd accept a fancy apartment from my wealthy parents, too. After a little, a lot more hands-on make-out, we straighten our clothes and prepare to head back downstairs. Right, I 100% believe that these 2 randy teenagers stopped at their own free will and then casually went back downstairs. There it is, that poorly timed sentence that makes everything awkward. Why does he do this? Just when I think that I've put the J history exactly where it belongs in the past, he pops up again like a jack in the box. I've been doing so well lately, ignoring each other, and that's been perfect for me, but here he goes rocking my perfectly balanced boat. Not like I'm Team Cole, but Jay isn't exactly any better. He used Tessa for his own means. He willingly dated a girl that he knew was bullying Tessa. Then when his relationship with Nicole fell apart, he got angry that Tessa was with Cole. Part of it is because he thinks that Cole is trash, but he's mainly angry because he probably always viewed Tessa as his safe backup plan. Words fail me, ironic considering here I am on a journalism assignment. Again, we are 345 pages into this, and this is literally the first mention of literally any sort of hobby or extracurricular that Tessa participates in. I was upset with you and about what happened with us. We were talking and drinking a little. She started crying. She told me she's always loved me, and then what, Cole? Then what? I shout hysterically, my entire body shaking violently. We kissed. She kissed me, and fuck, he curses loudly, kicks the door. I kissed her back. I was hurting, Tessie. I was so mad at you and Jay and at myself. I felt guilty for hurting both you and Erica when she kissed me. I thought that I could at least do one thing right. That was really stupid of me, wasn't it? I'm sorry. I love you. I love you so much, Tessie. I don't mean to hurt you. Yeah, no, this is a perfectly valid crash out. They get into literally one fight. He invites this skank over and they start getting it on while Tessa's literally in the next room crying herself to sleep. Fuck you, buddy. I hope you get herpes. Because I was closed now, too. My gland, one of the dozens he'd gifted me when my brother Roland sent me across the rift to be Lauren's blood slave. Do you want to try that again, perhaps without the poetic and diplomatic niceties? Her brother literally sold her as a blood bag to the vampires and then turned around and planned to frame her for possibly a political assassination, maybe even simply political upheaval. Don't beat around that bush, babe. He wouldn't have done the same for you. The elf called you a mage, I said. Aye. He rested his battle-scarred hands on the pommel. I have the blood. And Helen, another of our kind, a smile touched his mouth and skilled at hiding it. My heart beat faster. I never knew. She didn't say anything, not even before she died. His voice softened. Her silence kept you safe. If Queen Amantha had discovered a mage in her castle, what would she have done? I'm not sure she would have believed it. She was devoted to the Towers of the Mirror. The Brotherhood teaches that magic comes from the fur. Look, it's one thing to deny the existence of some other religion's god, but to deny the proof of something that can be seen and witnessed here and now? My sweet summer children, you are too stupid to be alive. The Brotherhood teaches that magic comes from the fur. Anger darkened his features. Contempt laced his tone as he said, magic is the only thing keeping their towers safe. I might forgive them for forgetting, but their ignorance is voluntary. The Brotherhood banished mages from their ranks generations ago. Now the brothers put their faith and money in politics. If they bother to ever look into the mirrors that drip around their necks, they might recognize their own hypocrisy. Okay, so we are supposed to view them as the fuckwits that they actually are. Good. She didn't appear to notice that Maiden didn't eat or that the grand table was coated in a thick layer of dust. She gave no sign she saw the fat vines that wrapped around the pillars and dangled from the crumbling ceiling high overhead. A human skeleton slumped in one of the chairs between us, remnants of dried tissue and sinew preventing it from tumbling apart. Well, I was torn between what if the demons are telling the truth about their enslavement and what if Varric is simply butthurt that he's been kept prisoner for days. But yeah, it's hard to be on the side of the demons when he describes the city as not being nice, like what Given described to the readers in the previous chapter. Chapter 8 Laurent. Ugh, go away. There had better be an amazing redemption arc for him. Like, that's him on the cover, right? I refuse to believe that Given would be stupid enough to take him back. Stay connected by joining Patreon as a free member, which gives you access to the same content you've been enjoying on Tumblr. However, for just $1 a month, you can join my Patreon and gain access to this month's Booksnarr, plus enjoy early access to my free daily stock. Thanks for watching. See you next month.